Having technical difficulties getting back to my stage. Okay. So, peace. Okay, let me start. Sorry about that. Peace, y'all. This is Empress Coachreenanicole, and this is the AM Inspiration Show to wake that ass up. I apologize for the technical difficulties we are experiencing right now, and I just want to welcome y'all to the AM Inspiration Show, the one, the only, often imitated, never ever duplicated. Period. Okay. Never duplicated, right? Um, so I just want to welcome y'all to the AM Inspiration Show to wake that ass up. And today the topic is transmute and pain into power. That's more like it. Transmute and pain into power. So yes, transmuting pain into power. And with that being said, we're gonna hop right into the topic in like 2 more seconds. So the topic of today, what's up, y'all? This is Empress, and the topic of today is transmuting pain into power. Literally using oh my goodness, what the heck? Our spiritual alchemy to transmute our pain into power, because literally that's like literally meeting yourself on a soul level. And excuse me, a lot of the time people think that they can only meet things on a material level, or they can only pray for things to happen for them, and they're not able to do things on their own, like, change their own pain into their purpose or their power, right? So literally when things happen to us, like trigger warning, like traumas, loss, or crises, isn't literally an energetic gateway to a soul level of transformation. And it definitely can trigger unresolved pain that we haven't truly tapped into and healed, because the pain we may seem to come out of nowhere. Literally, it seems like it comes out of nowhere when it comes to like those things being revealed, and yet it's been buried or suppressed in our psyche for a long, very long time. Okay. So if you ever like think back or pinpoint back to like a traumatic experience without dwelling on it, and you recognize, like, you know what, the feelings I got from that experience didn't hit me until years later. You know what I'm saying? I was doing something one day, or something had happened, I experienced a loss, or something chaotic or traumatic happened, and I just started feeling everything about everything in my life, including the experience, right? And that's because we have subtle levels of pain, and they can surface up when it's like, for healing. Literally, that's what they're doing. They're surfacing up for healing. They're not surfacing up to say, oh, let's just think back to the time that this happened to me and I just want to, be hurt again. No, they're surfacing up because it's something that you need to process through, and you need to actually address it and heal it, right? So without a full release, the psychic pain, it definitely can create chronic distress that definitely manifests like itself as it can be like mental illness and mental disease, things like, major depression, anxiety, or even physical illness. When you are stressed out, when the body's under stress, it creates inflammation. Inflammation is the breeding ground for disease. Okay. So literally, when you are releasing pain and you transmute it into something that's more higher vibrational, like using coping skills and not dwelling anymore, and transmute it into something that you could create, it really will open up that gateway for you to move forward in life, and not have that have your physical vessel or your spiritual vessel as a breeding ground for disease. Okay. So now, I know that it sounds like so cliche, like, oh, release the emotional pain, release the emotional pain. Like, you can go to Pier 1 Imports and just like buy something that says, hey, release emotional pain. And that's not it, okay? Dun, dun, dun. So, literally, you just can't release such pain with your mind by trying to get over it. A lot of people say that, like, oh, you're too sensitive, or just get over it, because they themselves have no clue on how to cope with pain in a healthy way. So they project out to other people what they do to themselves, like the abuse that they inflict on themselves. They project it out to other people, like, oh, you're too sensitive. After they've done something harmful to someone, they'll say you're too sensitive. After they do something to emotionally damage someone, they'll say you're too emotional. After you go through something traumatic that they themselves have no idea how to help you cope with, they'll say, oh, just get over it. It's life. Be strong. Or my mother, or invalidate your pain through someone else's experience, right? So these things, as humans, we run into them quite often, okay? So as painful as it may be, um, breaking open is how you make a breakthrough. Okay, one more time. Breaking open is how you're going to make a breakthrough. Period. Now, you have to realize that stripping away the layers of, I wouldn't even say filth, but the layers of trauma, the layers of pain, the layers of memories, the layers of thoughts that do not serve you, you know, is really like, when you think about it, it's like that beautiful handcrafted woodworks, like the woodworks, or like wood that you literally peel away the unhealed parts of yourself to reveal your true self, right? Because you're under there, and you're just like divine, you're being protected, like you're protecting yourself with your pain. It's literally like a person who has like what's those things they used to wear back in the day? A tin suit on, like an iron suit, okay? Like the man in the iron mask. Imagine just walking around with a heavy ass iron suit on all the time, not getting no vitamin D or nothing. Imagine how cray you would feel to get it off of you. So that's just literally like what it's like when you are aware of the pain and you try to suppress it when it surfaces, and you don't process through it, and you're not healing through it. So you're literally walking around with all this heavy weight. It's like dead weight on top of you that's weighing you down, right? It's really clouding your decisions. It's really slowing down your progress in different areas of your existence, and it's just not a good thing to have on you, right? Okay, because literally learning how to uh I wouldn't even say soften the blow, but literally taking the time to like stop and reflect, and go through that rebirth cycle. Okay, some people like to call it transformation. It means the same thing: transformation and the rebirth cycle, right? So we're moving from the experiential death. Literally, it's a death for yourself. Some people call it like, oh, it's a death of the ego, or it's a death of the spirit. Like, as someone who believes in sustainable relationships, and that's what we like built our brand around, is sustainability, right? Because humans are the most renewable source on the planet, right? Okay, so being as though we are so renewable, we can take situations and pain that's living within us and transmute that into our purpose of life, and where we need to go, and what we're going to do with our life, and also our power. Okay, so we're not literally dwelling on pain that's been inflicted on us, causing diseases like stress and just harming us from the inside out, right? And we are taking these energies, because it's literally like their own body of energy living within you. Okay, it's like a whole existence living inside of you that does not serve you, that does not belong to you, and you're just holding on to it for the fear of the unknown of, when I'm out of this state of depression, what is life going to be like? When I'm out of this state of anxiety, what is that going to look like for me? But because I know what anxiety looks like for me, I have coping mechanisms. I'm fine the way I am. And I know that sounds like some crazy shit to say, but literally, when you are living in these states of being, like it's a state of being mentally sick, right? It's a state of being. Okay, it's not a lifestyle or anything like that. It's just like a state of being for a time being, whether it's temporary or prolonged. It's still a state of being, right? So when you're in it and you're like, I know how to deal with this. I know how to, I identify my triggers, and without, living outside of this, even though most people say, I don't want to feel these things anymore, but living outside of that is still a fear attached to that. He's like, you know what if it happens again? And all these other things where we like, we gain the tools and the knowledge to expand ourselves, because as spiritual beings, we are extremely expansive, right? We can grow as big and big and big and big and connect. Like we have that connectivity, factor as well, where we're interconnected and we can connect to others. So that's the amazing part, right? But when we do these things to ourselves, it's self-effacing, and we have lost the sense to connect to ourselves. Yes, we can be aware, like, oh, I have this going on with me, but we're not connecting to ourselves to elevate that or to move past that and just like, live in it because of fear. We are literally, practicing self-effacing behaviors. Okay. So let's talk about this rebirth, okay? Because it's literally like a metaphorical death that allows us to liberate ourselves from our past and transmute our pain into transformation, okay? And it literally only happens when you're in the healing space of your heart, the seat of your loving, compassionate self, like their heart center, okay? Literally. I think like how literally it's like your crown chakra and that heart space will literally help you get through. All of those spaces can help you. All those centers, those big energy centers, can definitely help you to heal. But these two places are the most effective when you're experiencing things that we just spoke about. Not the most effective, but generally speaking, these are the places where we would go to first to check it out and see if it's blocked, see if things are going on that needs to be unblocked up, so you can get to like the throat where you speak in the creativity, the sacral, and be more grounded, the root, right? And like balanced out emotional, and things like that with the sacral. Okay. So it is literally like a whole process. Okay. So just keep that in mind, because that experiential death, it literally creates a shift in your consciousness. I don't know if you ever heard someone saying, you know what, my pineal gland is open, or this happened or that happened, and I felt that shift in my spirit or my brain or different things of that nature. And it's literally like experiencing a physical detachment from the body, right? Because the shift can be extremely disturbing, um, disorienting, especially when the brain reacts to letting go as a threat to life. Like you might panic, and it's literally like having a panic attack. Okay, that's literally what it feels like. Because like, you know what, I'm healing from this. And it's like, oh wait, you're letting go of all these automatic thoughts, like, and it's like your brain like, hold up, wait a minute, wait, let's just stay here. I'm gonna convince you, your thoughts start running really fast. I'm gonna convince you to stay here. I'm gonna convince you to stay in this place because this place is your safe place, and it's literally like that battle, that epic battle between the heart and the brain. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said that crown chakra, and that I guess we could throw in the third eye too. That third eye, that crown, and that heart chakra starts going to war with each other when you start healing. Like, oh no, like, because the thoughts will always want to, your automatic thoughts are like, they're their front line. It's like literally the front line. Like, you know what, we're the front line. We're gonna protect these decluttering thoughts that's clouding your judgment and stuff like that. And your heart is like, I want what I want when I want it. And that third eye is like, you know what, I can see the truth and I know we can get there. And then when you got to battle that mind, you get into a real big battle. It's like, it's an epic battle, because with that becomes that death. It becomes that experiential death, right? And the shift in consciousness, if that makes any sense. I hope I'm making sense to y'all. Okay. Um, because even in an experiential death, what really dies is your past experiences, not your true self. So you're literally opening yourself up. It's like you're opening yourself up to expand in a new way. You know how sometimes people say, you know what, oh, you changed, and it's like you're thinking in your head like, was I supposed to say the same? What they were saying was, you have moved yourself to a point where I could no longer impact you, where I can no longer control you, when I can no longer use your past experiences to make you feel bad about yourself, so I can feel like you are inferior to me. Hello? Is this thing on? Okay. So literally think about it. Think about it, okay? Because when you are connected to when you are allowing that past life to that experiential death, right, to happen, right, and the past experiences die, and you recognize, you know what, I've connected to my true being, right, and you clear, like, you're clear past, like, past yourself at a soul level, and it actually becomes a past life, right, yet you remain in the same body. You're still there in the same body, like, you experience those things, and that's okay, but you're no longer dwelling on them. You're no longer going back into a place of so far into nostalgia that you're causing yourself stagnation and depression. Okay. Okay. These are things people don't talk about, right? So when you let go of your past self definitions, your energy rises up like the phoenix. Okay, I love the phoenix. You know, if you ever heard of X-Men and Dr. Jean Grey, that's, I always use her to describe myself. Like, if it's like an archetype, is Dr. Jean Grey for me. Okay, because like, you know, that phoenix is like can rise up and is like, hello, you know. Then you have the dark phoenix, that shadow side, right? Okay, so everything exists within you. Keep that in mind, that everything exists within you. You know, whether somebody like, oh, that's a mythical creature, it definitely represents purification and transformation, that experiential death of the past life, of the egos, of everything that's keeping you stagnated. It represents that, right? Because you're rising up from the ashes of who you used to be, and you are definitely just like breaking into who the fuck you are, point blank, period. Okay. Listen, to live, there's this quote by Perma Shodon, right? And it states, to live is to be willing to die over and over again, okay? From the awakened point of view, that's life. Hello? Hello. Let me say it one more time. To live is to be willing to die over and over again from the awakened point of view, that is life, right? Okay, you're willing to take risks, you're willing to heal, you're willing to experiment, you're willing to experience, you're willing to do the things necessary to walk in your divine path, even if that means letting go of the shit that's holding you down. Okay, this is the foundation of turning your pain into your power. This is the foundation of turning your pain into your purpose, period. You have to experience that ego death, that experiential death. You have to experience it, because if you don't, you're never going to be able to let go. You're always going to reference the past. You're always going to look to the past for advice. You're always going to look to these things that no longer exist anymore. And you're going to skip over the present, and you're going to hyper focus into the future, and you're going to suffer from anxiety. Okay, and you're going to suffer from depression, and you're not going to be grounded in the present, where you can experience life and actually manifest and be your most optimal self. Okay, is this thing on? Let me check, hold on. No, listen. So with that being said, let's get into some facts on how we're actually going to do this, because it's not that complicated. But because this podcast is for self-development, and we do give out the tools necessary for you to do the work on yourself, we about to get into that. I need a moment. Period. Okay. So literally, okay. So literally, let's talk about how we can use spiritual alchemy to transmute our pain into that power, into that purpose, right? So literally, you have to create a space. You know, like I said before, we're also about how people, you know, especially Black people. You know, I'm a Black woman, so I can, you know, we are always creating spaces for everyone. You know, spaces and graces, and we don't give those things to ourselves, right? So literally setting up a nurture environment where you can fully, entirely embrace the unhealed parts of yourself. You know, whether it's like through meditation, through prayer, through chanting, through oming, through sound healing, through frequency healing, artworks, taking walks in nature, just staring out the window and journaling. That's a few great ways, amazing ways that you can do that, right? You have to set aside time to be with yourself, okay? At the beginning of each day and at the end of each day. You don't want to know why, because literally it increases, you know, your existence with your own self, okay? So being with your pain, anxiety, or discomfort, you know, like an old friend who has come to visit, you're sitting down with it, you're processing it, you're telling yourself that, hey, I see that, I understand that, but guess what, that's not my life, that's not the end of my story. I'm not going to die like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, my transformation started many years ago. I woke up, I looked around my life. You know, some people might have thought I had a perfect life, but I decided, hey, I'm not going to die like this. You know, it's nothing. Is the one of the most worst feelings is being alive and feel like you're suffocating, you're dying, because you're somewhere you don't want to be. And I didn't care what anyone else thought, but I told myself that day that, hey, I am not going to die like this. This is not my story. This is not why I was born. This is not how I'm going to end it. And I decided to change everything in that moment. And I just stuck to it through the years. It's been hard. It's been a process. It's an ever changing process because you experience a lot of deaths, like we just spoke about before. So just like, when you're in that space of being with yourself, you have to become aware of when you're feeling unsettled because you're identifying triggers, right? What you're doing is identifying your triggers. Even when you're restless or irritable, it's still identifying these things because, literally it's like a physical or emotional cue, and it's a part of your spiritual guidance system, right? And it's alerting you that underlying trauma or pain needs to be released out of your body. It's literally saying like, oh, this is too much. You ever been so irritated, just like, oh my God, this is just so much to deal with, right? And you just said that to yourself, or you just was like inside, you just was like, your skin was crawling, and you just was like, I can't take this shit. I need to go to sleep. I need to lay down because it was just too much for you to deal with. It's literally your trauma screaming to let it out. It's done with you. It doesn't want to be there anymore. And it's like the more that you hold on to that trauma because it's familiar and you haven't had any new experiences in life, and you have stayed in that stagnation of pain or victimization of self, because listen, we can be victims in life. Yes, I'm not going to take that away from anyone. You can be definitely a victim, but after experiencing being a victim, right, what are you going to do? Just let's stop for a second. Let's just think about that. I'm going to come back with the answer. It's your responsibility after whatever happens to you on how you're going to heal from that, how you're going to grow from that, how you're going to experience life, how you decide to experience life after that. And I'm not saying there's things that won't stop you. I'm not saying there's things that can't slow you down, because there are. Because as humans, we process differently, and I definitely respect that, and I definitely, receive that. But what I'm saying that ultimately it's always going to be up to you on how you decide to move next after something's happened to you. No matter how, like, whether you feel like it was a small thing or a big humongous thing that maybe possibly you feel like had brought so much chaos and destruction to your existence, it's still up to you on how you decide to maneuver through life after anything happens to you. It's nobody else's responsibility. It's not the victimizer's responsibility, because they're still living their best life, whether it's in prison or wherever else they at. They're still living their best life, and you're home. You're in your home, like your body, and you're miserable, and you're dying inside, but you're not dying in a way that's transforming you. You're dying in a way that's killing you physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, soulfully, and that's not fair to yourself. So with that being said, keep in mind that when you're ignoring these physical cues all the time and you're brushing them off, you're literally adding sickness to your body. Okay? So take a moment with your body and notice where your body is holding attention at, right? So that's what you can do in that moment. Like, okay, whether your shoulders hurt, whether it's your stomach, your head, your arms, your fingers, your legs, and you literally can just like, okay, so what is my body telling me, right? And you slow down, you pay attention, and then you ask your body, what are you holding on to? Okay. And then whatever you feel like is answering you, like when like that pain show up in their body parts, you write that down in your journal. All right. And you write down your experience with being alone with yourself, your thoughts that happen. And even if you have solutions while you're sitting there thinking, write those things down in your journal, or some sticky notes, whatever you can do to make sure that you're, having that moment with yourself, but you're, really invested into it, like invested into it, like recording, um, whatever you can do to make sure that you invest into that part, right? So literally, when you're in that moment, you can sit quietly, you can close your eyes, and drop it into your heart space. Like when you're in like emotional pain, and you can stay there till you feel pain or discomfort. But when you pay attention to like the way that you talk to yourself, and you notice what feelings they trigger, right? So when your feelings show up in this way, you're going to experience restlessness, and you want to run away from them or distract from them. Like we just talked about, some people use like drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, because they're like, I cannot deal with this. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to feel these things, right? And I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to give tools so you can be your best self. So I'm just letting you know what some people do, and that's a choice that they make, right? That's their choice, okay? And when you like remain in your heart space as long as you can, and I always like to say, imagine the power of the sun, like a big ball of golden energy, just like coming right into that heart space and just lighten up, just like big, and like you just breathe in through your nose and you bring awareness to what the feelings are telling you. And as you bring awareness to what the feelings are telling you, you recognize like, oh, this big ball of energy is coming to help me heal. It's sitting here with me and it's comforting me and it's taking away all the ugliness. It's not pushing it away anywhere else. It's not suppressing it. It's literally taking it away. So you don't identify these thoughts anymore with this feeling, if that makes any sense. So let me say something else. Literally, a trick they use in psychology is wear a rubber band around your wrist. So when you have an automatic thought that's bad, like a automatic thought that's not good, you pull the rubber band and you pop your wrist, right? I have rubber bands on my wrist. You want to listen? You want to hear? Don't know if y'all can hear that, but that's the rubber bands around my wrist, right? So if you have an automatic thought, you pull on them and pop them, and it takes you out of it because you're too focused on the pain to remember the thought. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. Like it's the same thing with the ball of energy. You know, now you no longer associate that thought with painfulness anymore, and it's easier to rid it from your psyche. It's easier to not hyper focus on it anymore. It's easier to just let it go, if that makes any sense at all. And it's a process, though. It's not going to happen overnight. It's literally a process. So keep in mind that everything is a process. So when you're practicing that deep, slow, intentional breathing, you can really inhale yourself like love in, and stress and everything out on the breath out. So literally is when we're guiding people into meditation, is that you're breathing in the love and you're breathing out fear, literally. You could breathe in love, you can bring out hate, you can breathe in love, breathe out drama. Breathe in love, breathe out trauma. Whatever you want to say for yourself, whatever is going to make you feel comforted in that moment, that's what you can do, okay? So do that until your breath is in a rhythmic pattern, right? And you feel very calm and centered, and your brain is not overworking. You're not overexerting yourself with thoughts and feelings or anything of that manner. So that means that's when something is happening, okay? So if if your feelings start to surface while you're calm, while you're remaining calm, and it gets too intense for you, it's okay to stop. Take a deep breath and come back to it later. You don't have to force yourself into meditation, prayer, chanting, oming, smudging. None of that was those coping mechanisms. You don't have to force yourself into it. Take your time. Just like if someone was taking medication for an issue, they start off with low doses, right? So keep that in mind. It's okay to take a low dose into healing. It's okay to do low doses every day at your own pace. It's not a rat race on healing. It's not a competition on healing. You are where you are, and you're going to get to where you need to be as long as you're consistent with it and you believe that it's going to happen for you. Okay? Period. Do the work. It's going to happen for you. So I just want y'all to keep all those things in mind. Because literally when your mind wanders, while you're doing these things, you just have to like guide it back to your breath and your heart. Like if you didn't stop or anything like that, and remind yourself that this is the focus right now. Yeah, but those are like a few ways that you definitely can use to reconnect to your power and transmute energy. I'm all for affirmations. I used to do a room on Clubhouse. And I used to do affirmations every morning, 40 affirmations for different things every single morning. And I'm gonna get back into that this winter, but I'm all about affirmations for elevating yourself. I'm all about putting affirmations around your mirrors with sticky notes, things like I am loved, I am blessed, I am powerful, I am fearless, I am resilient, you know, um, not the word strong, because strong implies that you are able to take anything and everything, and that's not a word that we use. We're resilient, we're going to persevere, things of that nature, more healthy words to define who you are. I am learning, I'm elevated, I'm creative, I'm growing. These things will remind you of who you are, who you're trying to be, who you're connecting to, not who you were. Who you were doesn't matter. I don't care if someone wants to remind you every day. Stay away from those type of people, because they're still stuck in who the fuck they were. that they want to bring you down with them. Stay away from them. You deserve better. Like when you're elevating yourself, you can't be around the same people anymore. It's point blank period. If they're not moving upwards and onwards and upwards, it's no way that you're going to be able to heal in the same environment that got you sick. Hello, is this thing on? You're not going to be able to transmute your pain into power or purpose if you're always around the same environment, including people, places, and things that made you sick. You're not going to be able to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to start faking the funk and having an image of being healed when you're dying inside and you're not experiencing the experiential death of the ego, that experiential death of transform, like of all that pain that you have suffered, that you're making yourself suffer through because you're still in the same environment and it's still reminding you, it's still triggering you. You need to get away from those things so you can actually have time to identify a trigger, because we're always going to be triggered by something, living in this fourth dimension. We're always going to have something that triggers us. When we identify the triggers that's really keeping us down, it allows us to be more self-aware. So you cannot be self-aware in an environment that made you sick. Now your awareness can be heightened. Let me say that you're like in the PTSD manner, sure. Your awareness can be heightened, but self-aware of the things you're doing, no. That's why they have laws like with people that's sick, like PTSD, some of them don't even serve prison time because they're not self-aware. They're heightened to everything in their environment, but self-aware they're not. So if something happens that scares them or puts them in a state of fear, fight or flight, they're not really deemed responsible for how they react. Okay, so keep that in mind. When you are self-aware, you are aware of your triggers and your environments, and you are aware that you don't need to be there. When you're not self-aware, you're not really about if you're suffering from like mental illness and disease, and even when you're not, a lot of the times, like if you're not self-aware, how can you really claim responsibility? How do you know about accountability? Most of these people don't. So they suffer from things like, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. That's one of the things they may suffer from. Borderline personality disorder sometimes. A lot of different things that can be genetically encoded into their, their physical vessels, or just from their life experiences can bring them down in such a way that they're not self-aware when it comes to them and how they are showing up in life, right? But they're aware of their environments because of that fear, that lack of knowledge, that lack of that experiential death of the ego, of the pain, of the trauma. So with that being said, I really, really, really hope y'all enjoyed today. I hope y'all took some tools. I hope y'all took some tips home. And I really hope that you transform into the best version of your very best self, and those experiences you need to experience to get to where you need to be. Period. Don't allow anyone to invalidate your experience with theirs, because that shit is for the birds. Period. Okay. With that being said, I am your host, Coach Empress Rena Nicole, and this was the AM Inspiration Show to wake that ass up, streaming live on all networks, baby. We get up there, boo, on all networks. Yes. With that being said, we are on here 7 days a week, 365 at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that being said, take care, stay blessed, and stay elevated. Peace, y'all.